音乐。
Hi, a very warm welcome to everyone. My name is Eileen, and today we have my teammate Lionel here with me. We're going to wait a couple of minutes more for everyone to get into the room, and then we're ready to start. Okay, Lionel, I think we're ready to go.
As ready as you are.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Once again, my name is Eileen, and I'm your facilitator for today. And today I have my teammate Lionel here with me. And thank you for spending the next 1.5 hours with us here. What I'm going to do now is to hand the time over for Lionel. For those of you who are familiar with us, bear with us. Lionel is going to do the introduction to who we are.
Who we are, as in who IBF is, right?
Yes.
In case you want to know who we are part of the IBF Careers Connect team. We are career coaches. So if any of you were to sign up to see us, at the end of the session, there will be an email where you can contact us. This is what we do, this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For those of you who already know us, as we said, please bear with us. Okay, so basically what we do when you come to see us is we will look at your skills and your competency inventory. This is usually in the initial part of our meeting so that we get to know what you're good at, what you have, and how these things could help in your job search skills, which leads to the second part of the time. Then those of you who are thinking about various options, including today's session on pivoting, we also help you to look at what is the labor market and what are the in-demand jobs or the job trends. And then what we love to do is also we have other events where you could meet up either virtually or in person with other financial profession, our IBF fellows or our adjunct coaches, and those people are veterans in the financial industry so that you can start forming your network. And then last but not least, all the 1 to 4 is to help you to have an action plan to enhance your employability. So long story short, when you see the email at the end, if you haven't seen any of us, I would encourage you to make an appointment to see us. Thank you. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Lionel. Okay, can you see? Yes, this is a refresh of what you signed up for. Today, we are going to talk about if you are planning to change your job. These are the questions you need to be asking before you do anything else, and the mistakes that you might end up making and how to prevent those mistakes. And lastly, we're going to share with you some really, really simple steps that you can take right away to start your job search. And for those of you who are familiar with us, we always keep our agenda very, very simple. So first off, we are going to talk about job search principles. We have this at the beginning of most of our webinars. And then we're going to talk about some definitions related to what career pivoting is. Then we'll launch straight into the actual questions and the mistakes that people are making and what you can do to prevent those mistakes. And of course, we have our usual Q&A. And those of you who are very familiar with us, Lionel and I always ask you to do one thing, and that is to ask as many questions as you can. And on our part, we always try to stop in the middle of the presentation to answer all the questions. And I'm happy to let you know that to date, we have managed to answer at least 99% of all the questions that come in during our workshops like this. And during today's workshop, we are also going to ask you to let us know what you think through the Q&A box. So can we invite everyone right now to familiarize yourself with what where the Q&A button is, so that later on as we go along the content, I will be asking you, do you follow? Does this make sense to you? Do you have any questions? And the more questions you ask, typically the more things we can expand on. Yeah.
And some ground rules is no, there will be no slides given out to you. If you feel that the slide it speaks to you and you want to remember, you are more than free to take a screenshot so that you can keep it with you. And as we said, the Q&A box is for you to interact with us. The more interaction, the better it is, and it will be more fun in this 1.5 hours.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to start out by sharing with everyone what are some key job search principles that you have to remember. In the course of your job search, you are going to talk to more than one career coach, and you will talk to maybe more than one career coach from one career center and multiple career centers. You will also be talking to your bosses, your colleagues, your friends, your spouses, and for every single question that you have, whether it is, should my resume be 3 or 5 pages? At any point in time, you are going to get half the room saying chicken and the other half saying fish. What we are trying to say to help you remember this principle is any question that you throw out there related to job search almost always has got 50% of people saying, yes, I take this stand, and the other 50% will always take the other stand. And so there is, in job search, it is really not a case of you having a perfect one answer to your question. Job search is never like that. And then the next principle that we'd like everyone to remember is to eat the meat and spit out the bones, which means hear from one coach, hear from the second coach, the third friend, the fourth spouse, and so on and so forth.
Spouse.
Yeah, and then you decide what speaks to you, what does not speak to you, and take what you can from what we share today and run with it. So this is our best form of encouragement to you. And yeah. Okay, we have one question. Let us try to answer that question later. Okay, definition. So we are done with the job search principles. Remember the chicken or the fish rule. Anything you ask anybody, go into a room, 50% of the people are going to prefer chicken, the other 50% fish. So that's the job search principle 1, and principle 2 will be eat the meat and spit out the bones. Second, we are going to move into the single biggest definition in this webinar today, which is what is career pivoting? So for purposes of today's workshop, we are defining career pivoting as a change in your career path to something for which you have little to no direct experience. So bear in mind, for those of you who are actually going to do the same job in the same industry, that's career progression. But today we are focusing on career pivoting. Does everybody follow? And if you follow, type follow.
In the Q&A box.
Use the Q&A box. Thank you, audience.
Thank you.
Thanks, Muhammad. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks, Yeming. Yep.
Okay, now we know it works.
Okay, yes, and crucial questions and mistakes. So when and for the audience, I encourage you, if there's anything that you don't follow or anything that does not make sense to you, I will be asking questions like this. So I encourage you, if you disagree or you have had a different experience, to share with us in the Q&A box itself, and we will try to address it. We do have a track record of addressing that, so we welcome all your questions and sharing. Yep. Okay, so the next thing that we want to cover is the very first question. The crucial question, very crucial question number 1 is, should I change my career or not? Should I change my job or not? And if you can't remember this question, the keyword I'd like everyone to remember is this keyword. Why do I want to change job? Okay, Lionel, this is our question point.
Why do I want to change job? That's a very good question because I did change my job. So this part is very, very close to the heart. So I changed my job because of reasons that it will be revealed to you later in the next
Yes.
slide. So many of you is wondering, is this a good time to change job? You have many, many reasons. What we want to
Yes.
do is we like to explore what are the reasons and are they compelled enough for you to make this leap of faith?
Okay, and the reason why we feel in our experience after dealing with hundreds and almost thousands of job seekers in our career center over the last 5-6 years is that if you don't answer this question, why do I want to change job well enough, it affects every single thing you do, right down to how you write your resume, how you appear during the interview, and how you come across in networking situations. So I would like the audience to share with us in a short sentence or so in the Q&A box, what are your individual reasons for changing, for wanting to change your job right now, today, at this point in time? Okay, I've got an input from Ken. It sounds to me that Ken has got little experience in doing social media. He has got a lot of experience in marketing, digital marketing, but you want more experience in social media. Is that right?
I don't think that was the that's not. You have to start with Sophie to suit my
Sophie?
introverts. Those are questions for later to answer, not
Okay,
not
Ken.
answers to the question that you just posed.
Okay, Sophia wants something to suit your introverted nature. Okay. Yeming is in between jobs. Jonathan wants higher pay.
I
Not
appreciate
happy.
your honesty, Jonathan.
So do we. Yes, not happy where I am now. Your current job is not fulfilling. And for the audience, in case you're wondering, you do have the option in the Q&A box to be anonymous if you want to. So if you're feeling shy, please join in the crowd. Yeah. Advancement in your career, thank you. Didn't want to change job, was impacted by a restructuring exercise. Now, for those people who are impacted by restructuring exercise, the question is, are you intending to change to a new job in the same track, doing the same thing in the same industry with, or are you using this chance to change to a different role or a different industry? So that's a big question that I'd like you to go back and think about. It does affect what you say in the resume and what you say in the interviews. Growth, lack of demand for professionals. Okay, so which means your career is plateauing, not passionate in my current job, current organization isn't growing. So again, you are seeking more growth, more learning and growth opportunities, trying to move to a more competitive market. I am assuming that you're trying to move to a market with more competitive salaries. Am I reading you right? Because from the employer's point of view, they are competing to, some employers are competing to get the best talent. There are other employers, unfortunately, who are competing to get the lowest salaried talent. Quite sad, but it does happen. Yeah. Okay, want to move to a different area. Okay, same job for 9 months, 9 years.
9 months.
Okay, sorry. Okay, in industry is phasing out of Singapore, outsourced to India. Okay.
Almost like the retrenchment question, you need to ask the same
Yes,
question.
a retrenchment.
Yeah.
Okay, it could be your age. Okay, great opportunity to change into something. Career growth, income increase. Why want to change job? Okay, stagnancy sets in. Job satisfaction, not happy. Cannot go back to banking already. Limited progression, career, out of comfort zone, salary.
I think we have more
Yes.
than enough reasons for us
Yes.
to review.
Yeah, I think we have got that covered in our upcoming slide.
Yeah.
So thank you for your responses. Really
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And this is really important. I will explain. So if you look at this slide, okay, most of your reasons do fall into at least one of the 8 buckets we have here. So we have got sunset industry, which means your industry is really not going anywhere. It is on the decline. Or it is sunset industry also covers industries that are moving out of Singapore.
Yeah.
Can be anything. And toxic environment. I think there were some of you who said you didn't like the environment, didn't like the job, and you reached the ceiling. So we have got that captured here. And we've got those of you who hated your job, no job satisfaction. And then if you look at the bottom 4 buckets, passion, because you want more, you are interested in something. Everyone says so. Now, I don't know if we have anyone who wants a job change, because you see from advertisements, from friends, from social media, from LinkedIn, glowing testimonies of people who have made a successful career pivot or career change. So this bucket is aimed at people like that. Okay, and people who want more money, yes, we have got them here.
Yeah.
And people who may want job security, especially those who have been or are at risk of being retrenched. Okay. And now, so what we have covered in this whole question, should I change my job or not? Some people have no choice. And the biggest keyword we want everyone to remember here is the keyword why. Why are you changing job? Why do you want a new job? And while the reasons may be some of the reasons are really, I have been retrenched, I have no choice, therefore I want a new job. However, the question then becomes a bit more nuanced if you are using the opportunity to look for a new job in a different field or a different industry. You will always get the question, why do you want to change role? Why do you want to change industry? And for those of you who are retrenched, I want to encourage you. Retrenchment is never a stigma. However, it should not be your first answer. Why do you want to change job? Being retrenched should not be your reason. You should always make it sound like it's an opportunity. I got retrenched. It was my opportunity. I took this opportunity to explore something, and I found this thing, and that's why I'm here today. So it is our hope that you can come away from this session with this glow and this confidence in what you're going to do, as long as you identify a strong why for yourself. And this slide is telling us about the kind of mistakes that we see a lot of pivoters making in our career center. That the single crucial mistake that you make is basing your why you want to change job, on unfounded assumptions and flawed logic. Now, what does this mean? Okay, we're going to show. So these are the same 8 buckets. And if you were to look at the 8 buckets, the top 4 buckets are referring to what we call push factors, which means why you want to leave the last job. And the bottom 4 are referring to pull factors, why you want to change to another industry or another role. And now we have got sharper questions for you to reflect. Remember, we said that there are crucial questions you need to ask yourself before you do anything else. The question for under sunset industry is it really a sunset industry? Is your industry really sunsetting, or is it just your role? Because if it's just your role, then clearly the question is, I may not have to change an industry. And for the second box, toxic environment, for those of you who are, for whatever reason, wanting to leave the current company, the current industry due to toxic experiences, you are not alone. However, your why always needs to be to address this what if question. I hate my company, therefore I'm leaving the job. I want a new job, but what if the new place is toxic too? So your why cannot be, I want to change my industry because I have a toxic boss or a toxic company or a toxic environment. So I hope everyone follows that. If you disagree, feel free to say disagree and give us a simple reason why. We'll try our best. And is it you or is it your environment? Now, I don't want anyone to come away from this feeling condemned because you think that you were the reason why you couldn't stay in a job or anything like that. But I'd like everyone to come away from this with this healthy self-reflection. I could not get along with the last 5 bosses in 5 different firms, and each of the 5 firms, I worked in them for 9 months. Is it really the firms, or is it me? If it is 5 employers in 5 years, and every employer I stayed only 9 months, there are cases like that. So again, I want you to hear my heart. This is not aimed at those people who genuinely were in toxic environments, but for those of you who have had what we feel are higher than normal and short stints, please come to us if you're willing to do some self-awareness, and we can help you work out the issues. Is it really you, or is it the environment? Does everyone follow that?
So far, so good.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we do have one simple question that we can quickly answer. Do you still apply to roles that states clearly they want X years of industry? Okay, for roles that want X years of industry, we are going to talk about that concept later. It's called the gap, and then we will talk about that. So if you bear with us, we will address that, and then if it still doesn't address you, please raise the question again. Reach ceiling. Now, the question is this, especially for those of you who feel that in your current industry, in your current role, you have reached the ceiling, there's no more room for you to grow, no more learning opportunities. So the question is, how much more can the new industry or new role offer you? So this is the question that you can only ask yourself if you have done that research. And you can only answer that after that research, not before. And for those of you who are bored with the current job, really ask yourself this. If you think that your current job is very boring, and if you think that one of the new fashionable job titles, for example, cybersecurity or data analyst, is very exciting, please go and find out more. Does the new job have tasks that will bore me the way that the old job bores me? So this is really, really crucial. We do see a lot of that happening. Okay, and the next one, the who. Okay, this question is, again, it is a very common interview question. Are you passionate about the industry or the company, or are you passionate about specific tasks? Or are you just passionate about money? Because whichever one you answer yes to, you always have to give proof. So if you say, I'm very interested in healthcare or elder care, then the next question is going to be, how have you shown your passion? Have you been to a Fei Yue family service center at all? So this is a typical line of questioning that will come up in the interviews. And this is the reason why we say your why has to be very, very strong. Okay? And then the second question, everyone says so. Now, we all have read tons of news articles, social media testimonies about people who have made successful career pivots. They change from one industry to another, and then you see in almost every media interview, the success stories having the time of their lives, being very fulfilled. But before you decide that you want to make the exact same change, understand this. That person's background and context is different from yours. Maybe they did not tell you the cons. They told you the pros, but not the cons. And then they may be right for them at their age, in that season in life. But in your case, you may not be a direct match or fit. So please consider that before you make the move. And what if for the people who have answered, I want to change job, or I want to change I want to change to a new job role, I want to change to a new industry. Now, this is specifically for those people who do not have experience in the banking and finance sector, and who are interested in the sector purely because the sector is a money sector. This is the single most important thing, yeah? Okay, the question is, if you are attempting to pivot into a sector in the hope of getting more money, into a new role in the hope of getting more money, but you do not have direct or relevant experience for that role, many times you are going to need to start off with lower than your current salary. So that's the question you have to answer. I'm changing job because I want more money. But in the end, in order to do this in the long term, I may need to accept or tolerate a lower pay. And then the next question is, how long can I tolerate that lower pay? And then the next question is, what if my new industry that I'm so passionate about, I never ever hit the same pay that I left in my old job? These are very hard questions, and I hope that this helping you to unpack the unfounded assumptions and flawed logic can help you to make a better decision if and when you do decide to accept that pay cut or not. And then for those of you who might have answered, you want job security, that's why you're changing to a new field. What if the new field has only contract roles? Okay. Very good. Okay, for this, I do have one example to share, and I hope that even if you don't remember anything, you can remember this example. Now, we all know that anything to do with data or Gen AI, data analyst roles are the hottest thing in Singapore right now, right? So we see at least 50% of our pivoters wanting to get a role in data analyst. That's really their single goal. And that was the reason why we decided to run this workshop. Because everyone thinks that I want to be a data analyst, because actually the real reason is not because I'm crazy about data, but because I think that being a data analyst will give me more money. And the truth is, the market is kind of getting very flooded with data analysts, because everybody has been flooding the data analyst training institutions, taking courses. And then get this, and because data analyst by definition is a job that can be easily outsourced in many areas, many of the jobs that are data analyst jobs have become contract in nature. So I hope that everyone gets what we are trying to say. We are not, the single most important point in this whole question about why is that before you even do anything, before you even talk about, can you do this, can you do that? Answer that why first. If your why is strong enough, you can conquer any how. So therefore, we have finished the crucial question number one, which is your why, right? And the crucial mistake, to avoid this crucial mistake, your why must be compelling enough. And with that, we are ready to take a bit of time to answer the first set of questions.
I just want to add that those reasons that everyone gave, I mean, I'm sure it's very valid for your situations. What we are trying to say is you're going to dig deeper. You cannot just take the plunge because of one or two things that is irking you right now, or you're not very happy. So don't make the plunge because of a moment of emotion. Don't let the emotion get. So these questions that we set up is to help you to have a rationale. You really think carefully and on what are the various reasons that you have. And as I said, all the reasons you gave are very valid to you. But are they enough, or are they good enough, or are they compelling enough for you to make this plunge? Because the grass is always greener over that side, but you just have to find out why is it greener. It may not suit what your lifestyle perhaps, may not suit your current stage in your career or in your life. So you're more than welcome to come to see us. We can discuss and we can ask, we can help you to dissect, all these questions so that you can make a decision. And the decision, if at the end the decision is yes, I think pivoting is the right move for you, then we'll help you. I mean, we will walk this journey together with you, or rather climb this mountain together. You see pictures of mountains everywhere.
And a quick one, Lionel, I'm as usual leaving you to help me clear the questions, but some of them we are talking about some of them, right? Is that do recruiters even consider career switches? Now, it is all about your packaging, because if your first, okay, this is a mistake that a lot of pivoters make, right? We have a lot of pivoters. They come from a totally different industry and want to change the role and the industry at the same time. We're going to give an example of that later. And almost always you write in your cover letter, I am a career switcher. Or worse, I am a mid-careerist. I am a career switcher. And I just took this course. And I hope you can give me a chance to learn by working in your company. Now, when I say it deliberately so that you can hear how you are coming across to the employer.
To the recruiter, if you are
Oh yeah, to the recruiter. Because essentially, this one of our previous webinars talks about this. I can't remember which one, but we do have a YouTube channel where you can find our past webinars, and we did talk about this principle of fair exchange, which we will not cover here. But in a nutshell, when you are applying for a job, especially a pivot, you don't ever want to be in that situation where you're asking for someone to give you a chance, but you have nothing to offer except a course that you took. That's not what today's market is. So, and if you need help to identify the correct place to apply for, please write to us. Okay. And with that, I'm going to move on. Okay. Now that you have identified by asking yourself all those questions, why you really want a career pivot, do you really want to change your role and or your industry? The next question to ask is, can I do it or not? And here, the keyword that we like everyone to remember is the gap.
Unfortunately, the gap is no longer in Singapore.
Okay. So what's our question for the audience now? What do you understand the gap to be?
Yeah, when we talk about the gap, what are we referring to? Now, I mean, not the retailer, the gap. But
okay, difference in experience, skills and experience.
Keep them coming.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm reading through some of the other comments, pretty helpful. And for those of you who are putting comments about what the policymakers are doing, what the government is doing, I just want to encourage you. Come and see our career advisors. There are factors that are beyond our control, but there are things that are within our sphere of influence that we can do. We can keep ourselves positive. We can do the best with what we have got. And I would encourage everyone, I'm not asking you to be blindly being boiled frogs, but I'm inviting everyone to let us partner with you to do what you can in your job situation, to find a career that, come what may, you want to find something that works for you, regardless of what policymakers are doing. So I hope that helps. Skills and experience, age, okay? Skill that one is missing, prove passion. Okay, passion finds its own way to prove. How do you show your passion for your wife? How do you show your passion for your husband? How do you show your passion for your favorite food? Okay, skills and gap. Okay, I like this. No, you do not have to be seeking banking roles. Please write into us anywhere.
Yeah.
A gap refers to a career break. Thank you. Experience. Okay, we're ready to unpack this whole concept of gap. Okay, what are the gaps that we are facing now and how can I close the gaps? I noticed most of the answers were about skills and experience. And we're here to share with you that in our experience, skills and experience is the smallest. Oh, I think we can almost say it is the smallest gap because the other gaps are often ignored by way too many people. Okay, and the biggest mistake that people make here is underestimating the gap. You underestimate the gap and you think that there's one cause that rules them all. Okay, we are fans of Lord of the Rings, and sorry to those who are not fans, but this comes from that trilogy. Okay, the gaps that we are talking about here is number one, money. And by money, we are talking about salary gap. Many of you already have got a stash of money savings that lasts you through a career pivot. But the question is, can I go without a salary? Can I get less salary to finance my dream of pivoting into this new role? So that's why, can I live with less? And the second question is then, if I cannot if I can live with a lower salary, how long can I do that for? So when you think of that, right, these kind of questions will almost always come up in the interviews for those of you who are consciously willing to accept a pay cut to get into a new role. Hey, recruiters, hiring managers are going to feel threatened if you say you're willing to accept the salary, because the threat behind their minds is, okay, but how long? For how long? Yep. The next gap that we're talking about is the U-turn gap. And this is the gap that says, okay, for those of you who are doing real pivots, I'm changing either my industry or my role. How long am I giving myself before I decide, okay, this pivot is not working, I am better off going back to my previous industry? For some industries, 5 years away may not be harmful. I can give myself 5 years in this new venture, and if after 5 years I still can't find a job, I can always go back to my new role. Okay, and for some other industries, this may not be so. Technology or cybersecurity is an industry that I hope the audience is not hearing the renovation behind us.
Okay, I'm going to ask them to stop, so I'll just shut off my video for a while. I'll be back.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm still reading the Q&A box. So for U-turn, the U-turn gap is about how long of a runway do you have for you to make a U-turn and to go back to your previous industry? Because for some of you who are at a certain season of your life, you may not have that runway to look back anymore, to go back anymore. So you may not have a choice. But please think about this gap and whether the sacrifices of a lower salary are worth it or not. So generational gap is about the gap between right now your age profile and the industry that you're aiming. So for example, if you are in the boomer generation, you may want to think twice about whether or not you want to work in a startup that is filled with Gen Zs. One of my friends is a training provider, and 90% of the training requests from managers in Gen X and above are for learning how to manage millennials and Gen Zs. So generational gap is a real thing when you're considering a career pivot. Because especially within the startup industry itself, or social media, e-commerce, it's common for people to work round the clock, and there may not be any work-life balance to have. Yeah. And support gap is about how long your family is willing to tolerate your pivot. Meaning to say, if you have children and they need your salary to go for Club Med holidays, how long are they prepared to go without those holidays? So this can be very real. Marriages can break down from pivots. That's real. Okay, and the next gap we're talking about, the green one at the bottom left-hand corner, is the dignity gap. It may look easy from where you are now, but the reality is that if you choose to change your role or industry, you may end up having a more junior title, a more junior job scope, and a more junior salary. And you may end up having to call your ex-subordinates your boss. So how many of you can tolerate that kind of dignity gap, what we call a dignity gap? It's not often mentioned in career webinars. You will almost never find this in webinars, but I guarantee you in Asian society and in Singapore, it's very real. And the perception gap, I have a picture of a woman carrying a child, because there are many pivoters who work with us who say, I can do this job, no problem. But how you see yourself is different from how the employer is going to see you. And so there is this whole area to work on in terms of your working to overcome the stereotypes that are working against you. So again, if you need help, write to us, and our teammate is going to put that in the chat, our IBF email address. Hey, reality, this is the gap between what the real job nature is versus what you thought it was before you changed to that new job. Say so, many people join data analyst roles thinking that it's a very romantic job. You'll be doing fantastic things, but you may spend 90% of your work doing data cleaning. And yeah, and that's a common story, okay? And skills and knowledge gap, we have already said it. So is everyone okay with this? And we are ready to move on. Upskilling, age could be a big gap, okay? And that for those of you who feel that age could be a big gap for you, the key is identify areas, companies, cultures, environments where your age blends in with the age, the existing demographic of that company itself. And this kind of information, I guarantee you, can be found from LinkedIn if you are willing to do the work. Okay, and we do have a LinkedIn webinar. I mean, we
To
had
help
one.
you on that, yes.
Yeah, we can help you on that too. Our objectives here is not to encourage or to discourage career change, but to encourage you that before you do your change, have all this information for you to make an informed choice. So we are encouraging career change with informed decisions. Yeah,
Exactly.
and we are here to prevent more career change mistakes. Can I say that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah, you're right. This session is not to say please don't change or please change. We want you to arrive at a clarity in your decision. If you decide to change, it must be a change whereby you're going to be preaching this story to the, in your networking session, if you were to go to job interview, even on your resume, when you put on your career summary. So we want you to be aligned so that when you go and when people ask you why you want to change, because I guarantee you, if they see that you are a career pivoter, that would be the second, if not the third question they ask you. And if you don't have a clarity in the answer, you'll be dismissed immediately. And then hence there were people will say, because they don't want me because I'm old, or they don't want me because I don't have the experience, or they don't want me because I don't have this degree, I don't have this certification. We don't want you to arrive at such a situation whereby you will feel so discouraged and demotivated, and it doesn't help. It will not help you in your job search journey. So if you have an informed choice, you make an informed choice, and you come to see us, and we help you build your career story, then you will find we cannot guarantee you get a job for sure, but at least it will move you much closer, to the role that you are dreaming of, you're thinking of.
Yeah. And for those of you who, I recognize that age may prove to be the gap, but many times the people who say that age is the gap, there are actually not so many of the only time where we can conclude that age is the gap is when at the final round of the interview, they ask you for your age, then you say that you are 62, and then you don't hear from them. That's the only time we can conclude. But the other times, way before that, you have already been giving out signals about yourself that fulfill the age-related stereotypes and biases that employers already have. So, for example, one behavior could be an age-related stereotype is the boomers are not very tech savvy. So if you ask them what's Instagram or TikTok, they may give a scowl on the face, and then they say, no, I don't use that in a self-righteous way, and then that puts employers off. And if your employer is a Gen Z person, then it's highly unlikely that you're going to get any further with this employer. So this is what we are saying. What is working against you is really age-related or age stereotyped behaviors, and not your age per se. So I hope this helps. And if you need help to answer and to package yourself in a way that makes you come across as the most fashionable, the most up-to-date, tech-savvy 65-year-old you can be at this season in your life, come to us. We do have experience, and we are more than willing to help. Yeah. Okay, ready to move on. Okay, underestimating the gap, that is the crucial. And the advice that we have for everyone when you're dealing with gap is, please pay attention to the other 7 gaps that we have identified for you and change the mountain if the mountain is too big, really. Okay, and the third question, after you have identified that first question, why do I want to change job? The why is the biggest thing. After you have sorted out, you have gotten a compelling why, the next question is, can I do it or not? And to answer that, you have to look at how big is your gap and what can you do to close that gap. And after you have settled the first two questions, then the how part of the whole equation can be relatively straightforward and clear. What are we talking about? So there are some guidelines that I want to share with everyone. I hope that you can remember this, and I'm going to stop here and there to answer any questions that you might have. So every job role has got two components: the domain knowledge and the functional skills required to do that job. And this is what we mean. For example, someone who is in banking, say maybe we'll take our famous local bank, DBS Bank, someone who's doing consumer banking, for example, that the domain knowledge that's required for that role will be the consumer markets. What are the products the bank has for consumers? Just to take a very simplified example. And then the functional skill, if you're working for a specific role, for example, HR manager, is that you need to understand what is involved in an HR role. Everyone follow, and if you follow, please type follow. I just want to make sure that we are not having anybody fall off. Okay, thank you for that. And I'm hoping that I'm making sense. And if you agree, if you don't, if you disagree, let me know why, and we will try to address that. Okay. Generally, so remember again, we are targeting people who are changing your job or your industry. In every job description, you will realize that employers always require one or both. Okay, I require either the banking knowledge or the HR skill or both. And the more senior the role, the more critical the domain is. Okay, what this really means is if you were a VP HR in a pharmaceutical company, maybe you work for GlaxoSmithKline, and you want to pivot into a similar role in HR in a bank that pays more than your current salary, then you really have to think at that level in a bank, a VP level in a bank, how much domain knowledge do you need to function as an HR person in that bank? And so that was guideline 1, and this is guideline number 2. Attempt only one change at a time. Meaning to say, if you are changing, if you are changing an industry, so if you're not from banking and you are trying to enter banking, suggestion to everyone is to attempt only one change. So if you're changing your industry, non-banking to banking, please attempt to change only the industry. Try to take the same role that you were in prior to in non-banking. And if you are staying in banking but taking a different role, then you are essentially, again, staying in the same industry, taking a different role. Please avoid, yes, changing your role and your industry at the same time. So again, this happens, prime example is data analyst. It's so popular these days that everybody wants to become a data analyst in a bank. And we have got people who have zero experience in data analysis work, zero experience in a bank, who want to work for a bank as a data analyst. And we're not saying that this is impossible. We are saying that the odds are high against
you, yes. Because you'll be competing with people that either have one or both.
Yes.
So you have to set your expectation. We're not saying you shouldn't do it. We're just encouraging you, don't do it, because it's going to be tough.
Okay. If everyone follows this concept is quite important because it will influence, once you have decided that you know why you want to change job, you know that you can change job, you know how to narrow the gap. The next question is, are you attempting to do change in role, change in industry at the same time? So I need everyone to let me know that you are following this. And to the question, bank and insurance as same industry is under finance. Yes,
Yes,
there is a significant amount of overlap. So I would consider that as same industry. Yeah.
they are in the
Yeah.
same industry.
Yep. Thank you for the confirmation. And hey, this is an example. I use HR as an example because HR tends to be very universal. Everybody's going to know what the HR role is. So the yellow arrows are permissible, encouraged, but not the arrow that's been crossed out by the red. Okay. Okay. The next guideline we have is expand your skills vertically or horizontally. Now, this is an immediate next step that everyone can do, regardless of whether you're in employment right now, out of employment right now. Okay. And what do I mean by vertically? Vertically means if you look at the green dotted vertical line on the left side of the slide, that says you started off as learning development specialist and you want to deepen your experience to be senior specialist and then principal specialist. So this is what we call a vertical expansion of your skill set, vertical progression. And then if you look at the horizontal line at the bottom, which is when a learning development person decides that he or she wants to take on HR roles like talent acquisition, you want to do systems job, and you want to do payroll. So generally, wherever you are, whether you are out of job or you are currently in your own job, the first step that you can take to start any pivot on your own is to do either of these two things. Start deepening your expertise and start widening your expertise, because the wider or deeper your domain, your knowledge is, the more pivoting choices you have. I hope that's clear.
Which means that your resume will look much more robust and more things for the hiring manager to consider why they should take you, a pivoter, and not someone who's already in the industry.
Yeah.
Or already doing the same function.
Yes. So remember, from a pivoter's point of view, especially for those who have a lot of experience, if you are choosing to do a different job role for which your rich experience is not directly relevant to that new role, okay, when you are willing to accept a lower pay, you may think of it as the employer is getting a lot of value for me. I am value for money. But to the employer has a different set of questions. The first question is, this person is going to bail on me. If that person takes a pay cut now, the person is always going to be looking at a higher role outside. That's concern number one. Concern number two will be, why should I take this person at this person's pay cut if I can take someone with direct experience at even lower pay, as is the reality now in the job market? So you are essentially competing with that group of people. So unless your preceding story, which we talked about your why, and then where you are looking and where can you close the gap in the best way, which is the mountain that is most suitable for you, your ability to answer this question will really depend on you choosing the right mountain to scale. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I think we should also touch money may not also be their concern, because if you are very senior in your previous job, you did a lot of things and you apply for some so-called step down. The other worry that they have is you'll be bored to tears because you will not have these things that you used to do. Maybe you don't have people reporting to you anymore.
Yeah.
So they don't want, and then they were thinking, is this a stopgap measure for you?
Yes.
So you just come in and then you say yes to everything. Then after that, when you get bored or economy gets better, you just leave. So you have to understand, if you can, as what Eileen said early on, if you can have a compelling reason, which is why we asked you the first question, if you have a compelling reason why you're making this decision, you're clear about why you're making this decision, then the hiring manager are more likely to take this chance with you, take this opportunity with you.
And so there was one question earlier on about networking for career switchers, right? Now, this is where networking is the most powerful, because in a typical pivot situation, unless your exchange with the employer in exchange for my need to learn experience I don't have. I am offering you this expertise that you do need. Unless your exchange with the employer is very, very compelling, right? You will not stand a chance. And networking is the only way that can get you to hiring managers. And by networking, we are not talking about flooding your LinkedIn contacts with, hey, I'm out of
I'm
job. Can you
available.
refer me a job? Please, that's not networking.
Yeah.
And
We
networking is also not spamming all your friends and asking them to help you find a job, because you will realize many of you who might be out of job, your friends will ignore your calls if you ask them for coffee if you're retrenched. At least, I mean, we have got many candidates with this kind of experience.
who share this type of stories with us, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I hope everyone follows. I've got very, very good questions. We will get to them. Okay. And this thing, guideline number 4. Okay, transferable skills alone is not enough. The key word here is alone. See, so this really falls into the bucket of the people who are trying to pivot to a different role and different industry at the same time, and all you're banking on is your transferable skills. So that means you do not have the domain in the yellow, that yellow icon there. You do not have the skills, the green icon, and you think that your current level of communication, teamwork, people management is enough to get you into a new job. And how we experience this is because in our pool of job seekers, we do have plenty of people who say the only requirements I meet in the job description are communication skills and teamwork. Can I apply for this job? So if you're listening in, our answer is no, please don't. So I hope everyone follows that. Transferable skills alone is really not enough. Unless you are friends with the decision maker.
That's why networking.
Yeah.
Working.
Yes. Okay, the person who said, okay, which part do you not understand? Feel free to type. Okay, I'm going to move on. Guideline number 5. Okay, middleman roles are potential entry points and exit points. Now, I like to see if I really need everyone to understand this. So if you don't understand, feel free to type in the Q&A box. Okay. In every industry, banking included, there are always roles that are highly technical, and then there are roles that are highly what we call user-based, right? The users who are actually using the technical systems. And in almost every industry, there will be these, what we call intermediaries or middlemen, who are the ones talking to the users, gathering user requirements, doing documentation, perhaps doing project scheduling, and doing QC on the technical people, and ensuring that the technical people are doing their jobs, and so on and so forth, or writing out user specifications for the technical people to work on. Now, why we say this kind of roles are always potential entry points is because they require, I would say they require less domain knowledge, both from the user point of view and both from the technical point of view, and they also require less amount of functional skills. The really key skills in this kind of roles would be project management, and Lionel, help me fill in if I left out some: coordination skills, scheduling, and perhaps communication and writing skills, and perhaps presentation skills and negotiation. Am I missing anything here in terms of the skills that are generally? So this makes them an easy entry point for people who are trying to get into the sector for whatever reason. Now, understand this, that part in the middle that I need everyone to understand. Understand that if you're using middleman roles as a potential entry point, it is also a potential exit point, meaning, number one, middleman roles are transient in nature. Because they are project-based, they tend to have, the work tends to be project-based. And once a job role is highly project-based, right? You tend to have that work, not a full-time position, but a project-based position that can last anything from 6 months to 9 months and so on. Okay, so that's one thing. And these type of roles are are highly augmented or augmentable by AI. And those of you who are following AI news, you will understand what I mean if you think about what I've just described, this scenario. And because most of these jobs are transient in nature, they also tend to be contract roles in nature. So yes, if you attend many career pivoting workshops, they will tell you, okay, be willing to take up contract roles to gain experience and so on. Yes, that is true. And you have to take note of the next thing. They are possible exit points, meaning, and every time there is a downturn or something, these are the roles that are first to be let go of.
I think at this point, we need to clarify that contract, if you want to take contract roles, there's nothing wrong in it, by
Yes.
all means. Because some people I have candidates that come to see me that has been taking contract roles because they need the flexibility of the time.
Yes.
They need to, sometimes they'll take the contract role, and then after that they can invest what they earn from the contract role into their own business, perhaps, or maybe they have a hobby that they want to get into and they need the funds. So there's nothing wrong in contract role. It's just want you to be. So for those of you who want to pivot, yes, you got to make an informed decision to realize that, yes, contract roles do give you the experience, but you have to realize that, it's also an exit point. So if you say you want to pivot because of job security, then you have to think, right? But if you say, okay, I want to pivot, but I know that contract roles is going to give me the experience. If I perform well and if the company has the headcount, it may become a perm role later. But again, you got to know the nature of the job as what you say. Let's say, you have a job to come in to analyze their IT infrastructure. But once you've done it, you may give your suggestion, you need to install this, you need to buy this, you need to do whatever. After that, it's done because they only need to do an IT infrastructure change once. And after that, they're not going to hire someone to be there to keep changing the IT infrastructure. So that's been what we want you to do is to be very well informed on what you want to do, right? Don't do things on a whim, on a fancy, or somebody tells me so. I read this in the news. This is the thing to be in. But as what we said, it could be the best deal for somebody who give a very glowing testimony about the success that he or she has, but it may not be the one for you. So you've got to make an informed and clear decision. And whatever the decision is, we as career advisor will support you to help you move closer to it. I mean, we can play the devil's advocate. We can ask you questions, tough questions actually, to see whether your resolve and whether you really know what you are getting yourself into. But at the end, after all this, and you still say, "Hey, Lionel, I think I'm aware of all this. I think I have the runway. I can tackle this. I think I want to do it." Hey, we are there to help you.
Yes. I like that. Yeah. So if you follow, if this makes sense, type sense. Thank you. And for those of you who are struggling with the history of contract jobs because you really had no choice, and we have plenty of those kind of candidates.
Yes, we do have, yes.
Please be encouraged. We are here to help you. We are here to help people with a career gap, people with a long history of contract jobs, not entirely your fault, not by choice, to repackage your resume, to repackage your entire persona, your interviewing skills, so that you can talk confidently about yourself. Because we guarantee you, employers, the nastiest interviewers are going to pick up on that and ask, why do you have so many contract jobs? Is there something wrong with you? Why didn't you apply for a full-time job? Okay, we've heard all of them. So if you need help in that area, please write to us.
Yeah, because we know there are some employers that are not as professional. They ask very, very questions that can trigger you. And, you need to be also, I think in some of our session, we talk about keeping it in, how to hold it in, how to don't get triggered about these things to have clarity, because they can ask you a very nasty question. Why it takes you so long to get a job? Is it because you're no good? Why? You left this company 1 year ago, 1.5 years ago. You mean you do nothing? You've been doing nothing?
Yeah, like until now, no job?
Yeah,
very
we
bad.
get those.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. So we understand how you feel, the angst and things like that. So, but at the end, we want you to make an informed
decision. Yeah.
Correct.
And if you are getting into a contract role right now, we want you to start preparation for the next role after the contract ends. If
Correct.
it doesn't materialize into a full-time job, a permanent job, we want you to start the preparation now. And your preparation starts now, not when your contract ends.
Yeah. As I said, contract roles, there's nothing wrong, because someone just missed. There's nothing wrong with contract roles. Nothing wrong. Okay?
Yes.
Just that if you want to take up contract roles, just like you want to take a perm role, go in with your eyes fully open. That's all we are saying.
Thank you, Lionel. Yes, and for our advice for those people who, if you are in technical, if you are in tech, right, if you are a technical person, you need to start. Remember, we talked about upskilling yourself sideways, horizontally and vertically. So if you are in tech, you need to skill, right? That means you need to pick up more skills from the user side. And for the users, the business users, you need to pick up more skills on the left, which is the tech side. And for the people who are currently in what we call middleman roles, you can skill yourself either way. Either go more technical, pick up more technical skills, or you pick up more user side skills. And by user side skills, we are talking about both the domain as well as the functional skills. Okay, understand the risk. How are you augmenting itself, and which other employers have such roles? Which means if you are currently in a contract job, please make sure that there are current other employers who are also hiring this kind of roles, because then you know that if my contract ends, there are still other jobs for which I can qualify. I don't have to have this hanging thing in my mind that when contract ends, I'm going to be on the streets, not having food or something like that. Yeah. So I hope this makes sense. Okay, next guideline. So again, remember, the more standalone a job is, the more outsourceable it is. So it's the same concept. So basically, let's take payments industry, for example. If you are familiar with payments, we're talking about firms like Grab, Utrip. These are all payments companies. You can call them any type of companies, fintechs, whatever. So generally, to get into these firms or any other firm, employers do want people with domain expertise. Whether is it employers want the current domain or they want expertise from another domain. Say, for example, in the past, DBS used to require UX, UI designers from other industries because they were building consumer products for other industries. So therefore, they wanted specifically people from those other industries to be hired within their own workforce. So we are talking about being hired for your domain. And however, the mistake that we see many pivoters making is that you take a lot of courses only on the skills. And again, we are not discouraging people from taking courses, but we are asking you to take courses and make these decisions in an informed manner. Understand that the more standalone, which means that if your job scope in the new organization does not need you to know anything about the business, does not need you to know anything about the users, and your code can exist on its own, that's what we call a standalone job. This kind of job will always be very easy to outsource or to offshore. So whether you move to a contractor or the job moves to another country, that can really happen. So this is important for everyone to grasp. So if you follow, please type follow. Domain skill is field skill is flexible, is it? Yes, of course. So you see, all of you have might have worked in different industries before. So you are likely to have come, maybe some of you have come from insurance to banking, and then after that to maybe consulting. You work in the Big Four. So then you would have had different domain skills. And depending on what is your target role, your target industry, the different parts of your background will be useful for that particular role. So your domain knowledge is flexible. It's a sum total of what you bring with you. Yeah, hope that answers.
It's usually your domain language, your domain knowledge is the first answer you give when they tell me about yourself.
Yeah. Yes, so which is why just now, if you remember earlier, those of you who are career switchers, right? If you go into an interview, if you get to an interview and people ask you, tell me about yourself, you don't identify yourself as, hi, I'm a career switcher.
Yes.
I'm from a different industry. I'm here because I took a job and I'm hoping to learn something from this experience. So, this.
Those are
like
your domain knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And by the way, we are not volunteers. We are paid.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very interesting comment. Singapore career advisors are volunteers, not real HR like other countries. I'm not sure, but I can
I
guarantee
think they are
you
talking about those
out
volunteer advisor from our colleagues in E2I, because they do have a volunteer career advisor. But let me assure you, we are getting paid. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you for that. Okay, entry level. Okay, I like this. There's a question that's related, and I think we do have time to cover that. Yeah. Entry level roles are mostly standalone. Yes, of course, because entry level roles tend to be less critical in nature. That there is little, how should I say, what we mean by a standalone role, right, is that role can be ported wholesale. The job specs description can be sent, for example, to an outsourced country or outsourced vendor to say, here, please find me manpower to do this. And it doesn't matter what this vendor, what kind of manpower this vendor supplies. There are people who has the expertise to say, for example, create this amount of code or something in SQL. They can do it. They don't need to be from your industry. That's what we call standalone. So for entry level roles, technically you are all standalone, because when you go entry level, you are not expected to have deep domain expertise.
Yeah, but entry level roles is not standalone because there is a career progression, because it will lead to other roles
Deeper.
or deeper, you climb up the proverbial climb up the corporate ladder. Standalone job is, if you are, let's say, I'm just saying it, example, doesn't mean all project managers are. If you're a project manager, you come in, you finish a project, that's it.
Yeah.
These are what we call stand alone, right? But you could also be an in-house project manager. There are out there. So you have to be very careful when you are looking at the job description.
Yes.
And then when you are, you doing the interview, or they will let you know for sure during, even before the interview, whether this is a contract project manager role or is it an in-house project manager role. Even us, okay, coaches, there are external coaches and there's internal coaches. So there are cases whereby people will employ a coach to come in to conduct certain seminars, a certain topic that they feel that it will help the company. After that is done. You're not going to stay in to be their internal coach. So yeah.
And also, let me give a real example from banking itself. So in the past, banks used to have pretty big learning and development departments. So which means that every bank would have a team of people who are in charge of the HR. To that all the bank's employees learn about the bank's products, learn about, for example, coaching skills for managers and all that. So every bank used to have their own learning and development team. But as the years have progressed, how the market has moved is that many of these functions, learning and development is for the most part, unless you're talking about product specific training, most of learning and development, for example, managerial coaching skills for managers, presentation skills, communication skills, these are what we call highly standalone. And therefore, in banking, what banks have been doing and are doing is that all these things have become either e-learning products or outsourced to vendors who are day in, day out doing presentation skills training, that.
Mm.
And even the product specific training, whatever can be outsourced to vendors, have become either e-learning or outsourced to really external suppliers. So they are not sitting on the bank's payroll. So this is an example of something that really does not require deep domain expertise.
Yeah, because you just come in to do presentation. Because presentation skills, regardless of what industry you use the same skill sets.
Still the same classical skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to move on. I think I should have one more guideline. Okay, every industrial change always presents opportunities, but not every gap can be overcome with the cost. Okay, what do we mean by this? So, if you look at that green box, we're talking about data, automation, and Gen AI. So in every industry, not just banking, will always move from manual stuff to automation, which is the lowest level of changing something from manual to semi-manual. That's automation, right? So the next step after automation really becomes AI or machine learning, and then after that is AI or specifically generative AI. So every industry, not just banking, undergoes this whole transformation. And then the next, of course, part of this is where data comes in, where it used to be just information, but now it's data and specifically data insights and data visualization. So every industry will have requirement for these things. Okay. And the thing is, these are the opportunities where if you have got the skills with these, they are entry points for you. These are skills with which you can get into an industry or a role. Okay. However, we are talking about real skills. So now what's happening and what we are seeing in the people that we help is that, you see, it's very different when you already have the skills, and transformation is a very fashionable word. So if you've done a digital transformation process in another industry, okay, the process is the same, the kind of change management, the training, the communication, the presentation, the data warehousing, for example, that you have to do can be somewhat ported to another industry. So let's say you are hired because of your past experience in transformation into banking industry. So that's called a pivot. And when employers are seeking this, if you look at the red dotted rectangle, they are looking for people with real transformation skills. And then they also want people with domain, which means even if you're from the another industry, then for every bank, when they hire a transformation role, they will always have a baseline for the amount of domain knowledge that role needs. So what we see happening is that everybody's reading LinkedIn articles on how Gen AI is taking over the world, how big data is. Everybody's flooding over to, say, all those data and analytics training institutes that we have here in Singapore, taking a course using your Skills Future money to take the courses that are in green. Understand this, when you take a course, it's not the same as you having the skills of actually having implemented a transformation exercise. And this is why your pivot may not be working the way you expect it to. Everybody follow that? Please type follow. Okay, thank you for that. All follow. I'm happy to stop here, and then we can start answering all the questions. I like all the questions that are coming.
I think we should just show them how to contact us, and then we can answer the question. The time
Okay,
is
got it.
short.
So in a nutshell, I hope everyone will remember the keywords that we've shared. Why are we pivoting? Can I actually close this gap? And the next step is how. And then to choose the correct mountain and get the help you need. So this is our email address. And for those of you who need help, please email us and we will get you connected to a coach to work with you. And then subscribe to this URL for our alerts, because we do run a lot of workshops like this. And we also run networking events. But before you do show up for a live in-person networking event, please come and work with a coach, because again, we speak all this from experience. We see lots of our candidates who have never worked with a coach before try to show up at a networking event, and you project such a negative image of yourself that you are putting off the
recruiter,
recruiters
yes.
and the employers who show up at that event. And trust me, these events take a lot to organize. You don't really want to mess up your experience. So before you go for a networking event, sign up, get help.
Yeah.
So ready to go through the question. Shall we just I'll see what I can.
Okay, while you're looking at the question, I'm going to launch what, for those of you who was with us, you'll know that we need your feedback very much to make our workshop or our seminar better at each run. So we'll very much appreciate if you will take some time to fill in this survey that we have. And while we are answering the question, I mean, this survey will not take too much of your time. It's, I think, only 5 or 6 questions. And
yes.
Yeah. Okay, we can start answering the question now.
And for those of you who are posting questions about, okay, I'm from XYZ industry and I want to come into banking or not into banking, ABC industry, I have this experience and this role, it's not possible for us to give you
no, we can't answer this at this.
So with that, right, we do invite you to at least write to our career advisor, have a good chat with our career coaches and see what comes out of it before deciding whether it is yes or it's no for you.
And as we said, whatever decision you make, we will support you, right?
Yeah. Okay. Every industry will have areas for career pivoting. It just depends on what really your interest is and where you can make the change. Okay. Okay, and those of you who talk about stable job, I hope that we have highlighted to you to identify whether job security happens in your target industry before making a change.
You don't need to pay to see us. Don't worry. I know we mentioned we get paid, but it's not through you. So don't worry about it.
And for the success stories of people switching from back office to front office, not internal transfer, right? There are many factors. And in our experience, it's not working with a career advisor to refine your whole story does a few things. Many cases, people who are not confident about themselves, you show that in the way you write, you show that in the way you interact with people, it shows. So working with a career coach can help you to change your confidence and your self-image. So that's the first part. Secondly, you can't run away from networking. By and large, networking is what gets many people these crazy pivots that you hear about.
Yes. And the recording will be available on YouTube on our channel. However, it's not instantaneous. It takes time. So if you want to, I mean, I can't believe I'm talking about technology and I tell you it takes time, but yeah, it does take time. So you just have to look out for it or subscribe to our channel. And once there's new videos up, you'll be informed.
Yeah. And also a word about the CCP programs or career conversion programs. We encourage everyone to read the fine print properly because many times, right, these programs put the onus on the candidate to find a willing employer versus having ready jobs waiting for you to sign up. Yeah. And the information is not very clear because if you go click into every individual CCP, you will realize that the contact of a specific training provider is listed there. So I just hope that everyone can come away from this making informed decision again, understand who is benefiting from what. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any other, like, no, are there, if we are career switchers, is it better to be than being pretentious? Okay, For the question about if we are career switchers, is it better to be honest and let the employer know that than being pretentious? It all depends. It all depends. I can't give you a complete answer, and I'm not here to tell you please lie about it. No, that's not what we are saying. But the issue we see with many career pivoters is that due to your events out of your own control, perhaps you went through a divorce, perhaps your parent fell sick, you had to take a career break, or for whatever reason you had to change industry or job or whatever, right? And for whatever reason, and then you yourself feel so stigmatized about that, and then you read a lot about mid-career switchers having to ask for lower salaries and all that, you identify with that stereotype of a career switcher, then you call yourself a career switcher because you see yourself as a career switcher. You go into an interview and the first thing you say is, hi, I'm a career switcher. So this is what we are saying. In these scenarios, you really need a coach to walk with you, to really rebrand you from the inside out so that you are confident and you identify yourself as, hi, I'm a XXX specialist. I'm here and this is my history. I used to be AML and now I had a chance to change my career. Therefore, I decided to do this, and then therefore now I am a compliance specialist, and that's how I came to find out about this role, and that's why I'm here. Well, that's a lot better than saying, hi, I'm a career switcher, please give me a chance. So again, I hope that you hear the tone because this is how you are coming across to employers. Okay, for those of you who can afford a pay cut to pivot, right? The issue is not about the pay cut, but if your why is very compelling. For example, I've been so passionate about the elder care sector. I spend all my free time volunteering at the neighborhood fair. I also wrote to the MPs about what can be done for the elderly in my constituency. And then I attended this volunteer group, that volunteer group, and I joined Facebook groups, support groups for elder care volunteers. You know, when you can come across like that, having a pay cut is really not part of the picture anymore. So this is the reason why our very first question was, should you pivot? And if so, why? Your why needs to be very compelling. So I hope I helped to answer a little bit of your question. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I hope you find this session useful and so that we can maybe do more or improve upon it. For those people that we cannot answer your questions, then as the email is still out there, make an appointment to see one of us so that you can have more time and I guess more privacy, I guess, to answer your question.
Yeah, and those of you who have got the course that is doing this for, okay, chicken and egg, start taking courses. So yes, chicken and egg, but remember what we said, right? Always start a pivot with where you are currently. So either start with a move horizontally or a move vertically. Do not attempt the diagonal move. That one almost always makes it that much harder for you.
And really do your homework in the sense that check what the market demands.
Yeah.
You know, look at the job descriptions of 10 to 15 roles that's the same and see what is required of you. Ask questions to the providers, right? You know, like example could be what happened to those of your graduates? Where are they now? Things like that. Or you can even, as we said in our linking session, you can search for those people that has attended the course and see where are they now. You know what I mean? So there are ways for you to find out before you decide to take a course, whether that course will be useful to you in your career move. But as we said in the beginning, don't expect that one course or a few courses or one certification that will make you, the guru of that domain knowledge that we're talking about.
Yes. And for Jonathan, the technical role, you want to switch to a less technical role. Remember, move sideways, move to where your users are. That will be the fastest and most immediate things you can do. Yeah. And then for TIFIP, we cannot answer for we do refer you to write to the TIFIP team.
If you want to know when you'll be launched, it will be later. I mean, most probably in the second half of the year. So yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you go to the webpage, I'm not too sure right now because
Yeah.
they may have changed it, because in the past you could you can write in to show your interest, but I heard from many of you who write that the link is no longer there. Then you will just have to wait. It's most probably in the second half of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And going for TIFIT is the same thing, huh? Yeah,
Yes, it's the
before
same
you
thing.
decide to go to TIFIT,
Yeah.
you can come and speak to us to see whether that's
Yes.
the logical choice for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also remember that there was that point about the runway or the no U-turn, the gap, right? Remember that all pivots come with a risk. There's no such thing as a pivot guaranteeing you increased
Yes.
stability, increased salary. So you always have to answer that question for yourself. What if it doesn't work out? What if I end up with less salary? And what if I also don't have job security? Am I still willing to pursue this change? This is very real. So we're sharing from
it's
our heart.
very real. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. So as I said, yeah, very good point to remind the people that are still with us. I think
Yes.
we should be going soon. And
Yes, we
so
should be
again,
going soon.
a big thank
Yeah.
you for those of you who stayed with us for the 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
Time flies
Yeah.
when you're having a good time. So I hope you had a good time. And I
Yeah.
hope you can take something away. That's the most important.
And for those one more question, please sign up for our alerts, because that's where we publicize our career
Events,
workshops
yeah.
and our events. And most importantly, even for networking, please don't
Yes.
wait for someone else to organize an event for you. Networking is a lifestyle, not an event to attend. And if you want
Yes.
how to learn and get started on how to do simple networking, sign up with a coach. The coach will keep pace. And I think in about a month's time, we should be running another webinar on networking for the shy. So keep a lookout for that. Yeah, and thank you everyone. I hope this has been very useful for you. And I hope that you can find us on LinkedIn and connect with us. We are always ready to help. Thank you for spending your time with us. And this is Eileen, and that's Lionel checking
Lionel.
out for the day.